All right. So it's wonderful to see you today. I'm
Thank
glad.
you.
I am very grateful that you agreed to join me on this journey and to share your insight into a woman of color building her business. As you know, the goal with the podcast is to help other women find out about different things about how to grow a business, how to build a business, how to stay the course, and how to get some answers to the questions that they're having.
Okay.
So thank you for joining us on this journey. So we will begin with learning a little bit about you. If you could share your name, your business, and your mission, that would be great.
Oh, yes. My name is Mernelle Saint Jean. I currently am part of emergent counseling and consulting,
Uh-huh.
and where I am part of a great team where we counsel people. We specialize in trauma mostly and other stuff, but we specialize in trying to get healthy services to women of color. We don't just work with women of color, but most of our clientele is women of color.
Okay.
And on top of that, I have a brand that I built to provide information for people who cannot come into therapy, where I have a podcast called the Black Girl Journey Podcast, where we talk about the journey of self-love and discovery. And then I also have embracingnell.com, which is a blog that I run where I give tips and tricks on how to manage our mental health under the sun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So it sounds like your passionate work is helping people with their mental wellness.
Yes, especially because in my line of work, women of color specifically, we have a very limited education in our mental health and our people. So I try to focus a lot onto helping us to really grasp the understanding of what mental health is and how mental health is important, because without your mental health, you're not going to be a healthy person all around. And so I try my best to get that information out to us as well as I can.
Okay. Okay. So do you consider, because you spoke about working with a team as a therapist?
Can you hear that?
No.
Okay. Sorry.
You spoke about working with the team as a therapist and also having your own podcast and blog. So is your work within that team also your business?
Yes.
Okay.
So all three are part of the business.
Got you.
So luckily for me, I came into my team where my mentor, she started her business and she brought me alongside of her, and she contracts my work so that her and I could build a platform for treatment for women and for men, for people all around, because we're very careful about being inclusive.
Got
For
you.
people all around to get their mental health needs, specifically those of us who have high amount of trauma. So whether you have PTSD, whether you have anxiety, whatever it is that you're dealing with, we specialize highly trained therapists in making sure that the community we serve is receiving the services. So yeah, I contract with them as part of my business because I want to make sure it's all around altogether.
Got you. Okay, sounds wonderful. So what led you to starting or getting into this business and starting your other businesses to kind of round out what you give? What created this passion in you?
To be honest with you, I never saw myself doing this.
Wow, really?
When I graduated, I remember I used to live in Taiwan. So I was in Taiwan just hanging out, and I remember people kept on coming to me for help, but this was my specialty. So finally I got to a place and I was like, you know what? I do feel that there is a need for somebody to be available to provide the help that these people are asking for. So I started to mentor then I came back here into the States and I decided, okay, I'm gonna go to go back to school and get my master's in social work. So my goal in life was to become a social worker, like
Oh.
only social work. I wanted to do macro social work. I wanted to community development. I wanted to create programs for people. And when I met my mentor, her passion was therapy.
Okay.
Then when she saw, she kind of like encouraged me. And over the course of a couple of years, as I learned more and more and more about trauma and people and how we work in the brain, I feel like I'm low-key a neuroscience in a sense.
Okay.
Yeah. So once I started learning all about all of that stuff, one day I just really realized I have a knack for it. So I started to do it. And then from there, the more I did it, the more I started to kind of realize this is my ministry. So I should probably take it more seriously. And in taking it more seriously, I started to find other ways to provide information out for people that aren't able to afford the therapy that we provide.
Got you. That sounds wonderful. Yeah. So it kind of sounds like, and this is wonderful because it sounds like your passion chose you.
Right.
Your natural passion led you to make this your profession and where you give in your business.
Definitely. It really did choose me. I was not, this was not what I wanted to do.
Right.
But it's what, and to be honest with you, it's what I love and I'm very passionate about, because after being in it for some times, I realized, oh, we need this. This is necessary.
Yes,
it's necessary.
definitely.
It's a field that a lot of people get into, but they don't really take the time to learn about it enough so that they have enough skills to be able to do what they need to do.
Right. Because I really like what you said when you said you're low-key neuroscience, because that shows that you did some in-depth study of not just the theories that maybe were assigned to you in class, but you want to understand the base of the process, how the brain works. And so when you're speaking to people, you can really understand deeply what they're going through. And I would assume provide a better solution because you have a deeper understanding.
Right. Because my goal was, when I started learning about how trauma works in the brain and how people are wired mentally, my goal was, I need to know the ins and out of the human brain. I need to understand what that looks like so that I can understand when people are talking to me, I literally can see what's happening in their brain.
Wow.
it comes out of my head and I see the full picture and I could pinpoint what's happening in the brain. And so, and it took a lot of study, because you have to study the brain and how the brain functions, how the brain works. And I've always had a passion. I was like, if anything, I'll go to medical school and become an OBGYN, because I love biology and I love chemistry. And now I can do neuroscience and the low key.
Right.
Learning about the brain. Yeah. So it's actually really fun.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I always say that if everybody really worked in what they were passionate about, the world would be a totally different place to live.
Oh, yes.
Because you would have people in spaces giving services that they just love to give. It's like you couldn't stop them from giving it. You know, like you said, your passion and your purpose found you. So if everyone lived on purpose and gave on purpose, it'd be much easier for them. They would enjoy it more. And then the receivers would get a lot more value.
Oh, yes, definitely. In my purpose finding me, I just kept myself open. And I decided I'm just going to go with the flow and see where life leads me. And glory be to God, it led me here. So it was definitely a journey, but it's a journey. I am so sorry, but it's a journey that's worth taking. Okay, perfect.
So I like what you said there about going with the flow, because as business owners and entrepreneurs, we usually, a lot of times we don't get started because we can't see to the end of what's going to happen. We feel like we need to see the whole picture. When we keep getting this desire to start it, start it, do this, but we keep telling ourselves, we don't know enough yet. I don't know enough yet. I'm not sure about it. But I like the way you said you were open and you kind of went with the flow, and look what it grew into. So that is
Right.
definitely a big lesson for all our listeners, that, if you have that feeling that this feels right and I should do it, and you keep getting that message, no matter how much you run from it, just trust it and go with the flow, and that's the best way to handle it.
I
So
definitely agree.
yes, how long have you been in business?
Um, I would say about 2 years.
Okay.
This
Wonderful.
year would be my second year.
Okay.
Mhm.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And what would you say was your greatest challenge in getting started in
I
business?
think you said it earlier, working up the courage to actually do it and not knowing enough.
Got you.
So it took, I remember paying $3,600 for a course just so I could have it, so I could have this information in my brain. And then
Right.
I take courses. So the biggest challenge is not knowing enough and then being afraid to
I
step
got you.
forward.
Uh-huh.
Being afraid, I think outside of not knowing, fear was one of the biggest
Okay.
challenges that
Nice.
I faced. Yeah.
Okay. And when you started your business, did you need any funding, or did you need any startup money, or how did you fund it to get it started?
I would say most of my business was funded by myself.
Okay.
I
So
did
self-funded.
self-funded, but then when I put myself in positions, because my biggest thing was I wasn't sure what was going to happen and I was afraid of what was going to happen. So for a while before I even got started, I had to work to get myself to a place where I felt comfortable. And then
Mm-hmm.
when I got to that place where I felt comfortable, then I started to learn about various ways to fund. So I'm currently in the process of trying to fund through a business loan. But right now, it was self-funded. Now it's customer funded.
Got you. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. That's wonderful. I hope my audience take note of that. First, she started off self-funding herself, and now she's customer funded. So there's light at the end of the tunnel.
There is.
And she's in her second year of business. So, that's a really big achievement
Yeah.
for
I still
you.
can't believe I'm doing it.
Yes. Wonderful. Let's see. When you started your business, is there anything that you wish you had known before you started, or something that you feel like you had to learn the hard way, that now you have that wisdom that you would give to someone else?
It's something that I'm still learning, actually. Just, I don't know about if you're a person who is consistently in your head. I'm a deep
Yes.
thinker.
Yes.
That is my blessing and the thing that I worry about the most.
I got you. I can definitely relate.
Yes. I am
Because
a
it's so helpful in some situations, it's exactly what you need. But
yes.
in other situations, you could turn it off and just,
Please.
turn it down to a very, very low where you can't
Yes.
hear it.
Yes. That is exactly what it is. And so having to think out of my own way, getting out of my own way and recognizing that trial and error is how we learn, and not being afraid to make error. And so it's a
ah,
constant, okay, that's fine. That didn't work out the way that I wanted it to work out, but that's okay. Because I've
uh-huh,
learned what I did what I did wrong, so I could restart over or pick it up from where I am and fix it.
ah,
So I had to rethink I had to rethink what failure means.
ah,
And so I had to understand that failure is not really a thing, it's just a learning opportunity.
wow.
And so that was what got me to keep going and keep pushing, and understanding that it's okay to cry. It's okay to be
Yes.
upset, and it's okay to struggle in the beginning as you pick
Mm,
things up. Because I think if I hadn't struggled as much and I hadn't gone through the errors, I wouldn't be able to say those days where I'm not where I need it, where my business is where I need it to be, it's okay. And that's
Okay.
a lot of work for me to be able to say it's okay because I know what I'm going to do.
Okay. That is huge. I just want to sit in that for a minute because you dropped some pearls there to because that's everything you mentioned is something that we all struggle with, and you even see entire books dedicated to that topic of failing forward. So, but to hear you actually say that you learned to basically fail forward, to not see it as failure, but I learned something.
Mm-hmm.
I took the lesson from that experience as opposed to falling and feeling like, okay, it's over. That didn't work out. I was wrong. Let me scrap the business.
Yeah.
Instead, you said, I learned something, let me move on. I know
Right.
what my goal is. And that is
Exactly.
very important because not only in business, but in life, we're always going to come across challenges.
Yes.
So if we could transfer that to our business mindset also, that is just great. That's
Yeah,
just great.
definitely. Definitely.
So you mentioned earlier your mentor and how she kind of helped you to see this line of profession and get you into it. What would you say about mentors?
Oh, they're so necessary.
Okay.
And it's like, and now she's trying to push me to be somebody else's mentor.
Okay.
And I'm like, I appreciate the honor. I don't know, but she's awesome at pushing me to do the things that I need to do. And I didn't realize the necessity of having somebody on your team,
Gotcha.
even having somebody, allowing somebody who you trust, and I have to say trust and love, to speak into your life and to call you out on certain things that you can do better at, but to see somebody else call you out on it is
Uh-huh.
a completely different experience. So she's tough, but fair. And I didn't realize how much I needed somebody who's already done what I want to do to encourage me to go and do the things that I know I can do. So if anybody needs a mentor, I think if anybody's thinking about getting a mentor, I think it's important to get a mentor.
Okay.
Because, and even before her, my mentors were people who didn't even know me.
Oh.
I don't just keep, like, she was just a blessing in disguise. But before her, I was looking at people who are doing the things that I want to do and learning from them behind the scenes. Because your mentor doesn't have to be somebody who's like right in front of you that you talk to. You just have to look at the people who are where you want to be and start to emulate what they're doing, copy what they're doing, and then perfecting what works for them so that it could work for you so you can get to where you need to be. That is another thing my mentor taught me. I didn't realize that that's what I had to do. That's what I was doing until she pointed it out to me. And now if somebody is doing the thing that I want to do, I look and see how they do it. And then I sit and see, okay, which part of their process can I use where I need to be? And then if that's the part of their process I'm going to use, how can I perfect it for myself?
Sounds wonderful. I love that. A lot of great insight. How would you say that your industry has changed since you started your business, or in the last 5 years?
I would say that my industry in the last 5 years has become more inclusive.
Okay.
But it's more inclusive, and there's a lot more information that we didn't have 5 years ago. So there's a lot more methods we didn't have 5 years ago. But I also realized that within my industry, yes, it's a lot more inclusive, but I'm realizing that not everybody's built the same.
Okay.
And
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So in my industry, again, in my field of therapy and trauma and learning how that works, it takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to really grasp the concepts and to understand what's happening, because I need to be able to translate the big words into small
Mm,
words and provide it
yes.
to the people I'm working with. So if my
Yes.
clients come in, I need to take this big word and make it
Uh-huh.
a small word. And that means that I have to understand the big word. And I have
Mm-hmm.
to understand it inside and out. So that takes a lot of study. That takes a lot of seminars. That takes a lot of sitting through a lot of trainings. I sit through like on a yearly basis now. I'm realizing I sit through about 2 months worth of training
Oh,
on
wow.
and off. Like I have to train because the training
Got you.
that I do are always adding on to the information that I know. And not a
Okay.
lot of people in my field are willing to do that
Ah,
because it's
got you.
very time consuming and you
Mm-hmm.
lose quote unquote money
Mm-hmm.
because it's not paid trainings. It's trainings you have
Right.
to go out and seek out on your own. It's trainings you have to learn through the grapevines. It's
Mm.
connections and networking and learning from sometimes those who are very different than us.
Ah, got
And
you.
that's not always something that a lot of people in my field are willing to do.
Okay.
So I do notice the drive to know more
Mm.
is not as deep as it used to be 5 years ago.
Got you.
Mhm.
Okay. Got you. How do you feel the what we've been going through in the last couple of years with dealing with the pandemic and dealing with all the political changes? Have you seen any change in your business related to that, like a more influx of people or different issues or
That's a good question.
Mhm.
Over the past couple of years, from the pandemic to the political climate to
Yes.
now, I have seen an influx of people coming in. During the pandemic, there was a lot of online
Uh-huh.
coming in, and it was just kind of like my rough start was during the
Okay.
pandemic.
Uh-huh.
But my full start has been the last couple of years. But a lot more people are coming in. And the one thing I have to say about the pandemic in relations to our mental health is that the pandemic brought up stuff that people did not realize were there.
Ah.
And
Mhm.
so then they came out of the pandemic, or we all came out of the pandemic and with certain feelings and thoughts and behaviors that we didn't realize existed.
Right,
Because we're
right.
always hiding them under work
Yes.
and being busy. So now they get to shine bright. And then on top of that, adding in the political climate and all the things that we've been through over the last few years, I'm noticing a lot more hurt people coming in, a lot more
Mm.
what I like to call as like secondary trauma because
Uh-huh.
we're witnessing so much more things than we were witnessing prior to the pandemic. It's now
Got you.
very blatantly in our face. So I know that technology has opened people up a lot more. So a lot more people rush in. There's a lot of anxiety that's going around because of a lot of uncertainty. So
Yes.
so I noticed a lot of that is coming up.
Okay.
A lot more depression, a lot more uh, those who need to be educated about what our mental health look like. So there's a lot more people seeking and begin to understand the importance of their mental health and the mental health of their children.
Okay. Wonderful. And that's great. Wonderful. Um, so today in your business, what would you say is your largest challenge today?
Time management. I didn't even have to think about that one. I do three things. So time management, but before I never used to ask for help. Now I ask for help. So
Okay.
I have learned the value of delegating and I have learned the value of seeking help. So,
Okay.
but I still struggle greatly with time management. It's one of
Okay.
the biggest thing I struggle with just because on top of running doing the therapy and running the blog and running the podcast, there's a lot of little things that people don't see behind the scenes on all
Right.
three versions of that
Right.
get done. And so sometimes I find myself working 12 to 14-hour days that
Wow.
although luckily for me, I said to myself the other day, or I said to my the person I'm seeing, I'm like, you know, we're not married, we have no kids, so this is the time for me to really put in this work. So I don't have any kids, I'm not married yet. So I
Right.
can really use my time to build set a foundation for myself and for my family in the future.
Okay, wonderful. What would you say has helped you stay the course in your business the most? What has kept you committed to it the most? Or have you had days where you felt like, okay, I don't, maybe this is not going to work out?
I
Have
quit
you ever
every
had
day.
those?
I quit every day. Every day I'm like, I quit. This is it. I'm done. Every day I'm like, no, I can't write another blog post. I cannot do this. Every training, I'm like, no, this is it. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired of being the only one in the room. But, I think what keeps me going is the fact that I really do recognize it's a service that we need in our community. And and then also the clients that I have helped along the way have really made an impact in my work, because they're the ones who made me realize this was a ministry. They're the ones who made me realize that the work that I do does have an impact. They're the ones who listen to the podcast. You're like, oh my gosh, we spoke about that in therapy and it's on the podcast. I'm like, yeah, it is. So I think there are days when I'm overly tired and I get fatigued and I'm just like, there's only one version of me, but the work is worth it. And I thought to myself the other day, I will keep doing this work until I can't do it any longer. Then I would just pass on the baton. But for now, I really do believe it is my calling, so that keeps me going.
I love that you say I quit every day.
Every day.
That's going to free up a lot of people, because a lot of people feel like if they get that feeling, then it must not be right. But that's a natural feeling. You're going to feel that way.
Yes.
You can feel, like you said, you can feel that way every day, but you come right back around to, that moment is over. Let's keep going.
Let's keep going.
But yeah, but that's going to hit you. Oh, it's going to hit you.
Me and my administrative assistant, every day I'm telling her I quit. Every day I'm like, I quit. This is the day when I don't come back. And she's like, no, you're coming back.
But you give yourself the freedom to express that. And that is really key.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to recognize that it's okay to express that you're tired. It's okay to express the fatigue. It's okay to complain about it. And I tell people, and when I would complain, and I said, leave me alone, I'm complaining because I can and I want to. And I know it's okay. Because I have to. If I don't, I won't be able to keep going, because I'm bottling up all of this stuff and it's gonna go somewhere.
Very key. I love that. That's gonna free up a lot of people. That's freeing me up some, just hearing you say that. I'm like, okay.
I quit every day.
That. You gotta let it out. If you don't let it out, it's not that it goes away, it's that you're pushing it down.
Right. And my motto is, you don't push things down. If you push it down, eventually it's going to overflow. You can't push down no more. It's going to come out. And I think a lot of the time, that's why people quit when they start something that they know is meant for them. They hold in all of this pressure. And I have come to realize I have to quit every day. If there's a moment I'm like, well, this is it, I quit. And then I have to express it. I have to. And I go into, and I always tell my clients, it's okay, go into the dramatics. No one's really gonna hold you. Be as dramatic as you need to be. And then recognize that you're just being dramatic and it's gonna be okay, and go back and do what you gotta do.
I love that. I love that so much. So you hear, guys, just be as dramatic as you need to be.
Yes.
And then just go back and get it done.
Yes.
You are free to just let it out.
Yes.
Let out your frustrations and everything.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes. And take breaks. I take breaks. I would set up stuff and then I would take a break. I would set things up and then I would take a break and let them run on their own. But even in those moments, those breaks I'm taking is because I'm fatigued and I already quit that day. So I'm
Gotcha. You gotta take a break, then rehire yourself.
Yes, I have to always rehire myself. I'm like my worst employee.
Beautiful, beautiful. So have you thought about where you would like to see your business 5 years from now? Or have you thought about a future plan?
Yes. So I really do enjoy working with my mentor and contracting with her. So I was expressing to her the other day, hey, I think we can take this and, package it and bring it to another part of the country. And I would love to see that work in other parts of the country. And on top of that, I would love to see that the blog that I work hard on and the podcast become a tool specifically for women of color, because I want us to have these information at our fingertips, because it's geared towards us. And so I don't like to gatekeep. I'll tell you whatever you need to know. Okay. You don't even have to pay me for it. But I want to see, speaking engagements and really having opportunity to bring what I do in my version of what I do. And that's the one thing about my mentor, why I love contracting with her. She's so supportive. And she's like, what do you need from me to get to where you need to be? And I want to see healing take place all over this country, especially among women of color. So I want, in 5 years, I want my book to come out. Okay. I want my podcast to be as available to everybody as I need it to be. The website, I want to have, now I have a team of 2. I want to have a team of 6 so that we can get everything out the way that we need it to be done, so that all of this information is at our fingertips. Gotcha. Because knowledge is power, and I want to empower us to the best of my abilities. Okay. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. What would you say you love most about being an entrepreneur? What do you love most? And then I want to know what you love least. I love my time. Yes, some days I do work 12 to 14-hour shifts, and that's okay. It's a choice. So I always thought to myself, I want to be an entrepreneur so I can never have to ask somebody permission to go on vacation. Okay. Because I love to travel. And so have I been traveling since then? Not really. But it's because I understand I have to put down my foundation. But I do my favorite part about it is being able to be in control of my schedule. Okay. Because to me, I value time. Yes. I value how I use my time. And so and then I also value building something with my hands. That's always been my prayer. I want to build something with my hands. And so those are my 2 favorite things. I love that. I love that. Okay. That's my favorite thing. Wonderful. The freedom of being in control of your own time. Yeah. And being able to build it with your own hands. With my own hands. And that doesn't mean that all the time I have control of my time. But what it does mean is that at the end of the day, my schedule is based on myself. Even if that means I still have to, I know I have clients, I still have to report to them, but I know that I'm the one doing this for myself. Got you. And so it allows me the opportunity to provide an even better service. Right. I don't have that extra added pressure. Right. Okay. And what would you say you like least about being an entrepreneur? If there's anything you like least. A lot of things I like least. Taxes. Yes. Numbers. I do not like those things. I especially do not like notes. I love writing, but sometimes it feels mundane coming up with ideas. I cannot deal with those. So sometimes I would have them pile up and then I have to do them all at once. But in my therapy, I do not like notes. Okay. In my other businesses, I don't like taxes. And I don't like bureaucracy, but I have to do it. Right. I don't like those parts, but they're not that bad. It's just not my favorite things. Gotcha. Yeah. So I try to delegate them as much as possible. Right. That's the key. Being able to delegate. Ask for help. Yes. Yes. Sometimes I know I have a friend of mine who's also an entrepreneur, and I know she'll write her stuff and then she'll hire somebody to like reread it and go over it and then she'll post it. And I understand that because
Right.
that's a lot of work.
Yes, it is.
Mhm.
And that's a good tip to, be able to delegate, or be willing to delegate.
Yeah, we're one person. We can't do it all.
Mhm.
And I had to learn that that's okay. I don't have to do it all. I get to sleep because I don't have to do it all.
There you go. There you go. Okay, is there anything else? Before we close, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions that I ask everybody at the end of their interview. But before I do that, is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners that maybe we didn't cover, but it's something that's on your heart or in your mind that you want your fellow women of color entrepreneurs to know and understand?
If you keep at it, it will bear fruit. But before something bear fruits, a lot of the times it has to die.
Um,
So most of the times people think you're going to get in, it's going to be easy right away. But until you fail, you can't bear fruit. And that's the part where it has to die. So it's not going to be, I'm going to get everything right. You're never going to get everything right. You're going to fail at some things, but the smallest seed has to die before it grows into the biggest tree.
Wow.
And so that's the one thing I want to, and it's okay, because there's nothing wrong with starting from scratch, and there's nothing wrong with starting at the beginning and retracing your steps.
Okay.
Mhm.
Great. Wise words. Thank you for that. Okay, so I have 4 questions for you. First one is, what's your favorite pastime?
I live in South Florida,
Mhm.
and I live in South Florida for a reason. Well, because I grew up here, but I love going to the beach. Every Wednesday, I schedule a block of time I finish working on Wednesdays at 3, and I spend the rest of the afternoon and evening at the beach, and I go swimming every Wednesday.
Wow.
Every Wednesday.
Beautiful. I love it. And that may flow into my next question, which was, how do you take care of yourself? How do you give yourself self-care?
I schedule self-care.
There you
So
go.
I have my Wednesdays. I don't work Sundays.
Okay.
And I have specific times where I spend time with the ones that I love. And those times are non-negotiable.
Okay.
Mhm.
Very nice. Very nice. What's your favorite vacation spot?
That's a good question. I go to Jamaica a lot. So I guess right now Jamaica is my favorite vacation spot.
Okay.
Love the sun, the water, the food, the people. So yeah, for
Jamaica.
now, Jamaica.
Okay. And do you have a favorite book you can share with us, or anything that comes to mind?
A favorite book that I could share with you guys is The Mountain Is You.
Oh.
It's a book about, and it kind of pulls you out of your mind and show you that a lot of the reasons why we're not getting the things that we need to get done is because of our limited beliefs. And then it shows you how to overcome your beliefs and give you a starting ground of how to work through a lot of that. So The Mountain Is You is a really good book. I recommend it to everybody because that book really changed my life.
Okay. Wonderful. I love that. Okay. Well, I want to say thank you so much for being with us today and for sharing all the great tips and the knowledge and experience that you did.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to feed a lot of souls, and
Thank
we
you.
greatly appreciate it.
But I was happy to be here.
Wonderful. So enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully we can have you back again later, maybe in the 3rd year of your business, and see
Oh,
how
yeah.
things are going.
That would be exciting.
Okay, wonderful. So peace and blessings.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.